Do you have the fear of letting go of your clutter? And what do you do if you have that fear? I'm Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Now, at askahousecleaner.com, right there in the corner is a blue button. You can click on that at any time, 24/7, and you can leave me a message, and it comes to me right here at the show. Somebody called into the show and they asked this question.
Hi, I have a house full of items that I need to clean up. I was going to sell them on eBay, but I just can't do it. I've been collecting for 2 years. How do I get rid of all this stuff without feeling guilty because I spent so much money collecting them from garage sales and other places? It all makes me very depressed, and I'm hoping you can help me. Thank you.
Alrighty, I love this question. Thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to call into the show and to ask this. And I want to stop for a second and I want to highlight the fact that it sounds like you're an entrepreneur. You wanted to make money, and so you made some collections of things and you were going to sell them on eBay or Etsy. I love that about you. The second thing I love about you is that you are creative and you're resourceful. You went to yard sales and garage sales and you found these things that you were going to resell. So I admire where you're headed with this. Now, I want to stop for a second and also honor the fact that you said you're now depressed because you have a whole house full of things and you don't have the time, or something in your life has changed to where maybe what your original intention is no longer. And so, how do you get rid of that stuff? And then, first, we have to pay attention to the fact that there was the fear of missing out. If I don't go to the yard sales, if I don't go to the flea markets, if I don't get this stuff, I won't be able to sell it on eBay or Etsy and then have my business. So there was this fear of missing out. Okay, so I love that. And now that we've acknowledged that, we can deal with it. The next thing that we want to acknowledge is that there was maybe an overwhelm of, oh no, now I have so much stuff. How and when am I going to find the time to do it? And so now there's a different scenario we have to deal with, which is the overwhelm of it didn't quite turn out how I wanted it to turn out. That doesn't mean it was a failure. It just means we have to course correct and figure out the best way to deal with this stuff. The next thing that we want to pay attention to is the reality that now you say you feel depressed and maybe your house is too much, it has too much stuff and it's too cluttered for you to be able to execute your original plan. And so I want to honor all of those things. None of them are bad. None of them are anything to be ashamed of. They're all just emotions and feelings and things that we want to acknowledge. All right, now that we've acknowledged them and we are aware, we now have choices. So, yay, we now have choices. Okay, so the first thing that I want to stop and pay attention to is to sell physical, tangible items requires space for storage or warehousing. We also have to do inventory. Then we have to do the actual sales cycle, which is where we run ads and we place those products and we take pictures of those products. And then we do the fulfillment and we do the shipping and the returns and all of that stuff. After all that's over, then we have to pay taxes and we have to do bookkeeping and we have to get ratings and reviews. And it is, in fact, a process. So if you are a business owner and you want to do the process, I say, yay, that's awesome. Let's do it. If you're a business owner, but you don't want to do that with stuff, we can course correct and we can move from tangible things to intellectual property. And this is where it gets really exciting. We've helped lots of people who are in similar situations who have lots of stuff and they want to kind of regroup. We switch them from physical, tangible things to intellectual property, which instead of collecting items that you're storing, it's things like you're collecting graphic designs and you're collecting things like blogs or photos or things like that, that they're all on a computer. And those are things that you would sell for your service in exchange for money on something like Fiverr. And that's a platform where people like myself, who's a business owner who uses graphics and photos and things like that for my business, we hire designers from Fiverr to help us with little different parts of our business. So there are still ways you can make money. You can still honor the entrepreneurial side of you. You can still honor the creative side of you. But instead of having a house full of things, you're storing things electronically and you're using your creativity in a way that you make money from that, but you're doing it a little bit different way. So there are ways of doing that. That's not my specialty here today, but we've helped lots of people who are dealing with clutter and reorganizing their lives to kind of pivot and do something like that. All right, so how do we get rid of the feeling of being, oh no, I'm so depressed. My house is cluttered and I have other things that I need to get rid of. And how do I do that without feeling bad? I spent all this money. All right. The feeling bad that we spent a lot of money can't be helped. You already spent the money, and so you're not going to get the money back. And because you bought the items at garage sales or flea markets, they're not going to give you a return. And so you're not going to get the money back. Okay. So I hate that, and I'm sorry about that. And that's just kind of one of the bad things that happens on the side. But we're going to call those sunk costs. And the sunk costs mean you're not going to get the money back. The money's gone. Feeling bad about it isn't going to make anyone's life any better. Okay. So now we have to stop and say, oh dear, I'm not going to get any money back. What are we going to do now? Well, what we can do now is we can find someone who can use the items that you have in a meaningful way. So if you're not going to sell them, and that's fine if that's what you decide. If you decide not to sell it on eBay and you don't have the time and all that stuff, who can use your items? Who can get the best use of them? And is it a school? Is it a craft department? I don't know what the item is, but is there somebody that collects those that could either buy the whole bundle of items from you, or is it a place that you could donate? Now I'm going to go back for just a second to my personal situation. I'd collected books. For years, I'd collected books. And I had about 10,000 books in my personal library. And I love books and I love to read. But when Kindle came along and I could get electronic versions of the book, it made more sense for me to let go of the physical hard copies that I was storing in my house. And I'm in a situation a lot like you where I didn't want to let the books go because they represented ideas and wisdom, and I didn't want to let go of that, but I'd also spent a lot of money on books and even custom closets in my house that were 14 by 16 feet in diameter, and they were climate controlled, and I had all my books in there so that the pages wouldn't warp, and I was fanatical about it. But in order for me to get rid of that, I had to say, hey, there are other people that would also like to access this wisdom. And so everywhere I went, if I was going to a fitness center, then I would say I can donate books of health and wellness to the fitness center. If I'm going to a business, I can donate my business books to the business library or the break room. And so I started finding places where I could donate those things there were people that would appreciate them. And I was just giving the books away for free because once I was going to sell them on eBay and Etsy too, but I too ran out of time. And I said, it's not worth the hassle or the little bit of money I would make. Let me just go ahead and give them away. But the first shift is a mind shift where you have to say, I'm giving away this because there's someone else that can use it. And so you're giving it away for the happiness of giving. And then you have to decide what's different now for me for the future. Because if keeping this stuff and hanging on to it is making you sad and depressed, that's not a good solution, right? So we want to let go of the sad and depressed feelings by giving it to someone who can use it. And then in the future, say, wait a second, I did this because I was creative, because I am an entrepreneur, because I wanted to experience happiness by helping others. So my suggestion is just right now, today, to be aware and then to say, what are my next steps? Because now that you are aware, you have choices. All right, I hope that helps a little bit. If it does, give us a thumbs up. If you got questions or comments, those can go in the notes below. And if you would like to join us, we have a group called Hoarding World. You do not have to be a hoarder to participate. It is a support group where people help each other as we change our relationship with stuff. Come on over and join us. I will leave links in the description below. Until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.